New Year's Eve, Manhattan's most coveted restaurant. Glittering tables, families cheering, countdown energy rising. Vanai jua tatsi, kantuong kong ai tinu. No tables available, the host repeated, staring at the billionaire he didn't recognize. Rachel Carter blinked, stunned. Not even one. None. I'm sorry, ma'am. The room kept celebrating as if her humiliation were invisible. A woman worth billions, turned away like she was nobody. Rachel swallowed hard, forcing her voice steady, but inside something cracked. She reached for the door, already planning to disappear into the freezing night, when a child's voice cut through the noise. Daddy, why is she so sad? Rachel froze. A single dad rose from his seat, eyes meeting hers with quiet understanding. Then he lifted his hand, hesitant, sincere, inviting her to join them. Why him? Why now? And why did that one small gesture shake her more than any boardroom battle she'd ever won? If this moment pulled you in, please like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more powerful stories. The moment Rachel stepped toward the single dad's table, the restaurant's atmosphere shifted. Soft at first, then unmistakable. Conversations thinned. Wine glasses paused mid-air. And from behind the host's stand, a voice rose, sharp enough to slice through the warmth. Ma'am, the manager snapped, rushing forward, heels clacking like a warning. You cannot join that table. They're already seated. Already seated. Already judged. Already labeled. Carlos turned slowly, his jaw tightening. Sophia's eyes widened, confused. But Rachel stayed still, her fingers lightly touching the chair back as she looked at the manager. He was older than the host, stocky, with a permanent sneer carved into the corners of his mouth. Someone who had decided exactly who belonged in his dining room and who didn't. I didn't ask for special treatment, Rachel said evenly. They invited me. The manager stepped closer, lowering his voice but not his arrogance. People don't just invite strangers here. Especially not customers like them. Customers like them. Carlos echoed, his voice low and steady. The manager didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes said everything, dismissive, classist and smug. Sophia tugged her father's sleeve. Daddy, did we do something wrong? No, sweetheart, Carlos murmured, though a flicker of anger crossed his face. Rachel looked at the manager with a controlled calm that only years in boardrooms had taught her. I'll sit with them, she said quietly. If they're willing. Carlos nodded once. We are. But the manager stepped between them. Ma'am, I'm asking you to leave. You're disrupting the flow of service. Rachel blinked. For accepting an invitation to sit down? You're disturbing other guests. The lie was obvious. Half the room was openly watching, pretending they weren't. Carlos stood fully now, eyes narrowed. We were eating quietly until you came over here raising your voice. The manager scoffed. Sir, I'm handling a situation. Sophia whispered. Daddy, I don't like him. Neither did anyone else. Several nearby diners exchanged glances of discomfort. And then the moment turned. A woman at the next table lifted her phone, recording. The manager saw it and paled slightly but doubled down. Ma'am, please leave before I call security. Rachel exhaled, tired. Not angry. Not intimidated. Just tired of being told where she did and did not belong. She reached into her coat and pulled out a slim leather wallet. Not to flaunt wealth. Just to present her ID. The manager snatched it before she could open her mouth. Rachel Carter, he read, lips curling. Cute. You think copying a billionaire CEO's name gives you? He stopped. His face drained of color. Because the ID photo staring up at him was unmistakably her. Behind him the host whispered. Sir, that is her. A beat of stunned silence rippled outward. Then a voice from across the room cut through it. Are you kidding me? You turned away Rachel Carter. The whisper became a wave. Phones raised. Chairs scraped. Recognition spread like fire. The manager stumbled backward. I didn't know. You didn't need to know, Rachel said softly. You just needed to treat people with basic respect. The room erupted, some gasping, others murmuring in outrage. Sophia let out a tiny triumphant humph, crossing her arms. Then the restaurant owner, an elegant woman in a navy suit, burst from the kitchen, her face thunderous after catching a glimpse of the recording. Who spoke to Ms. Carter like that? The manager pointed weakly at the host, but the host stood straight. It was him, ma'am. He told her to leave. And he insulted the family who offered her a seat. The owner's eyes sharpened. You what? It was a misunderstanding. You're fired, she said instantly. Effective now. The room applauded. Not politely. Not lightly. They applauded the way people applaud justice. Sophia clapped the loudest, little palms echoing like fireworks. Daddy, he got in trouble. Carlos couldn't help the small smile tugging at his mouth. Looks like it. The manager sputtered, face red, then purple, then something darker. He stormed toward the exit, but stopped long enough to glare venom at Carlos. This is your fault. No, Carlos replied calmly. This is yours. The door slammed behind the disgraced manager, and the applause slowly faded into a warm hum of approval. The owner turned to Rachel. Miss Carter, I'm deeply sorry. Your table is. Rachel lifted a hand. No special arrangements. She turned to Carlos and Sophia. I was invited to their table, she said. That's where I want to sit. Carlos held her gaze for a long, quiet second. Then he pulled out the chair again. Rachel sat. And the restaurant finally exhaled. The owner personally delivered a fresh menu, though Rachel barely looked at it. She glanced instead at the two people across from her, the ones who had offered her kindness without knowing a thing about her. Sophia leaned forward. Miss Rachel, you looked scary when you told him he had no respect. I wasn't trying to be scary, Rachel said. Well, Sophia declared confidently. You were. Carlos laughed warm and low. She handled it. Rachel looked at him. Thank you for waving me over. You didn't have to get involved in all that. We don't leave people standing alone on New Year's, he replied simply. A lump formed in her throat, uninvited and unexpected. Their meal resumed, though everything felt different now. Lighter, safer, earned. Sophia showed Rachel her napkin drawings. Carlos asked a few gentle questions about her favorite places in the city. Rachel found herself laughing, real laughter, the kind that felt unfamiliar in her own mouth. And slowly, a fragile but steady sense of belonging settled around the table like a warm halo. But the night wasn't done twisting. 20 minutes later, as dessert arrived, a familiar voice slithered through the room. Well, if it isn't the ghost of Forbes' covers past. Rachel froze. Carlos looked up. A man in a charcoal suit approached, dripping expensive confidence and something uglier beneath it. Victor Hale, competitor, former colleague, and one of the few people in the world Rachel genuinely disliked. What are you doing here? Victor asked loudly, ensuring half the restaurant heard. Slumming it. Carlos stiffened. Sophia's brow furrowed. Rachel's expression didn't change. Victor. Enjoying your evening tormenting strangers. He smirked. Not strangers. Tell me. Did they finally realize you're better at buying companies than keeping people? Hush fell. Even the waiters paused. Carlos watched Victor carefully. Is this man bothering you? Victor snorted. This is between CEOs. Rachel didn't answer him. She looked instead at Sophia, her confused, slightly frightened face, and something inside Rachel shifted. A line snapped. She rose from her chair, calm, centered, choosing her words with the precision of someone who had spent years holding knives politely by the handle. Victor, she said softly, you've spent your entire career trying to hurt people you couldn't outsmart. His smirk faltered. And tonight, she continued, you walked into a room full of witnesses, after being subpoenaed by federal regulators, and decided to insult me publicly. The blood drained from his face. A woman nearby whispered, subpoenaed. Rachel kept going. You should check your email. They moved your hearing up. Monday morning. Victor's lips trembled. You wouldn't. I didn't, Rachel said. Your board did. They sent me a courtesy copy. Gasps rippled through the room. Victor staggered back. This is retaliation. No, Rachel replied, voice steady. This is accountability. Something you've avoided for years. And then came the final blow. Carlos stood, his height and calm presence shifting the power completely. You should leave, he said quietly, not threatening, just offering truth. You've embarrassed yourself enough for one night. Victor looked around. Every eye was on him. Every phone. Every recording. And for the first time in his career, Victor Hale understood he had no power left to wield. He stormed out, pushing past tables, muttering curses that no longer frightened anyone. When the door slammed shut, the restaurant erupted in applause again. Louder, clearer, unanimous. Rachel sat back down slowly. Sophia whispered, Miss Rachel, you beat him. Like in a movie. Rachel didn't feel victorious. She felt something better. Free. Carlos watched her quietly. You okay? She nodded. I think I will be. But as the applause faded and the restaurant returned to its warm glow, Rachel sensed something deeper moving beneath the moment. Something unfinished. Something waiting on the horizon. And when a waiter hurried toward their table, pale and breathless, holding out a phone that wasn't his, Rachel felt her heartbeat shift. Ms. Carter, he said, voice shaking. You need to hear this. And the story wasn't done yet. The waiter's trembling hand held out the phone, and for a moment Rachel thought it would be another crisis waiting to swallow the night. But when she lifted it to her ear, all she heard was her brother's voice. Steady, warm, surprised she had reached out after so long. His simple "I've missed you" softened something she didn't know was still locked. When the call ended, she didn't return to the table the same woman. Carlos saw it before she spoke. Sophia felt it too. Children always sensed quiet shifts adults couldn't name. Rachel thanked them for giving her a seat long before anyone knew her title, and the words felt truer than anything she'd said all year. The night had begun with a closed door, yet it ended with a reminder that connection wasn't earned through power, but through presence. She walked out with them into the cold air, no longer carrying the invisible weight she had brought in. For once, she didn't feel like a distant figure behind glass. She felt human, reachable, willing to try again. As fireworks flickered along the skyline, one burst lingered in a slow gold arc, reflecting off the restaurant window where it all began. Rachel paused, letting the moment settle, knowing this time she wouldn't watch life from the sidelines. She stepped forward. If this story moved you, please like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing for more powerful journeys of hope and change.